I put myself into a really bad situation where I was around a drug dealer and he got very physical with me. And a friend of mine ended up driving an hour to come pick me up, and he walked in that house and he got me out of there. And I literally didn't think I was going to survive that situation. I was scared for my life. And as we're leaving, I'm bawling my eyes out, I'm beaten up, I'm battered and I'm bruised. And I'm telling him, I'm like, thank you so much. And he said, don't thank me, thank God, because I woke up today hearing your voice and I knew something was wrong. And so at that point, I knew that there was a God, and I knew that that God loved me. And if God can love me, a homeless, hopeless junkie, like I can't keep living this way. Like I needed to change. My story of addiction starts when I was really young. I started out doing pills in high school and drinking pretty excessively. And then I joined the military, which pulled me out of my addiction for a long time. But then I injured my spine and I got prescribed pain pills. And then that made me spiral. But I was still able to be a good mother, and I could still pay bills, and I could still do everything that I needed to do. I ended up getting into a very abusive relationship, and he introduced me to meth. And at first that made me like super mom, and made me feel like I could do everything that I needed to do, and I was still paying bills and everything was still going okay, until it wasn't. At that time, DCS had been called on me a few times, but I had managed to pass barely by them, and managed to still keep my kids. I was more engrossed in getting high than being a mother. That was my number one thing, and my family started realizing that. And I dropped my kids off at my mom's house one day, and she told me that I had until 9 o'clock the next morning to pick them up and to show her that I had a good place for them to stay at. And I showed up the next morning and the kids were gone. And she wouldn't tell me where she had sent them, and that broke me. I pretty much gave up at that point. It was so hard. I just dove headfirst into my addiction. And during all of this time, I'm going to jail. I've been to jail 13 times in a matter of a few years. After going to jail so many times, my mom started letting me see my kids again. And she started letting me come around again, and I started realizing that I do have family and everything, so I started slowing down on the drug use and everything. And I went and visited my kids one day, and my son told me he was scared that he didn't think that I wanted him to be my son anymore. And that broke me, because I wanted to be his mom more than anything else. But I still chose drugs. And that day I left to go do a drug deal, and I got arrested. And that was the last time. I got approved for Veterans Court, which is a program that if you pass through this program, you'll end up getting charges dropped. And they sent me to rehab at Transformations, and Transformations introduced me to God and reminded me that God did love me and I was worthy of love, and brought me around some like-minded people and introduced me to Ignite Transform. And then I started being introduced to other programs around the area, which is when I got connected with the Cooper House. I started going to community night with Sierra, which is somebody that's been a part of the organization as well. And every community night has a different subject and something else that we get to learn, like self-love, self-care, parenting skills, reading with your children, doing homework with your children, basic things. But it helps you be able to build together as a family, and it also gives you community. And then once I moved into the Elroy house, I had more support than I had ever had in my entire life. I had never had people have my back like they did. And I knew that I could call Brooke anytime that I needed her, and she would be there. And then we met together every month, and she helped me with my budget, which I'm awful at budgeting. I'm terrible with money. And Brooke stayed on me and made sure that I took care of things like I needed to, and made sure that I saved like I needed to, and kept me on the straight and narrow financially so that I would be able to have a house and know how to take care of things. The day that I graduated from rehab, I got the kids back that very same day. And It was exhilarating to know that I was going to be able to provide for them, but it was so scary because I hadn't been able to do that before, and I didn't know how to be a mom anymore. But it felt amazing to know that they were not going to have to struggle anymore, that we weren't going to have to worry about where our next meal came from or where their clothes came from, because I had these amazing people around me that helped provide that. And now I was working a steady job, and I didn't have all these other things taking away from my life. I had all these people pouring into my life. I've now been sober for 4 years. I'm a single mother. I have a full-time job. I've been working at the same place for over 3 years. I have a very cute little 3-bedroom house with a fenced-in backyard and a really good community, really close to a school. My kids are thriving. They love our home. They love our family dynamic that we have. I have built back the relationships with my family that were broken. And I now have relationships with people that I thought would never be able to be mended again, but I was able to mend those bridges. I've now turned into the woman that I thought I could never be. And I've been able to become proud of myself again. For those of you that are struggling with addiction right now or losing your children right now, don't go through this alone. Don't seclude yourself. Know that Jesus loves you, and there are tons of people out there that will be there for you. Just reach out for help. Get to rehab. Get deep into your recovery. Go to church. Go to a meeting. Do anything that you know would just benefit you, because you're not alone. There are so many people out there that would do anything to help you get through your first day of sobriety, to your first year of sobriety, and you can do it.